don't know if I'll do good, but
Guess what? We're recording.
oh shit! All right, so welcome to Two Shots, the show that we talk about music, games, and maybe even movies. I am your host, Jason, and my co-host,
Hey, this is Mike. Welcome to the show, everybody.
and we got our shots all ready for us.
That's right.
We're good.
We discussed this a lot, and the
Yeah.
first thing we would definitely like to shout out, and this is for our international audience, which is massive. We have a holiday here in the States called Thanksgiving, so we would like to do a special salute to our to the pilgrims and the natives that made our country possible. Thanks, everybody. Happy
Shout
Thanksgiving.
out.
Is that how do we do it?
Yep. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Shout
Thanksgiving.
out. Oh, that's good.
Whew.
All
And
right.
speaking of our massive international audience, we also would like to do a shot to all of our fans out there.
Absolutely.
Our millions of fans. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
your time. Thank you for signing up for our Patreon, buying our merch, and all the things we have not set up yet.
In time, all that will
In
be
time,
ready.
in time, we will figure
So
out ways
thank you.
to have you support us. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
all of our fans.
And like and subscribe. You know
Yeah,
that
like and
whole
subscribe.
ordeal.
Yeah, click the notification bell.
Exactly. Thank you guys. Shout out.
Woo.
Oh yeah. Oh. Oh, that's
So the first
Oh.
thing I think I would like to talk about today, Jason, my good friend, is I went to a concert this weekend. And this
Oh,
was
yeah?
at,
Who'd you go see?
This was Hard Rock Live over in Orlando. I am based out of Tampa, Florida, and I saw a quadruple whammy concert that consisted of Cattle Decapitation, one of my favorite vegan-themed death metal bands. I saw them.
I mean,
I saw
just the name alone is metal.
fantastic. Second, there was Obituary, who I hadn't really even paid much attention to for about 30 years, honestly.
Yeah, I would say the same.
But and then Carcass, who I love very, very much. Carcass is one of my all-time favorite bands, and they all opened for Amon Amarth, which is another one of my all-time favorite bands.
Fuck yes.
Fantastic show, actually, and everybody was fucking awesome. I had never seen Cattle Decapitation before, and I wasn't super familiar with their work, but they kicked ass. I mean, a lot of bands kick ass live anyway, but they were really good. Obituary sounded great. Not much to say about them except that they look about as old as I feel. So
Yeah, I was gonna say with that Obituary thing,
Yep.
can you I mean, did they don't got anything new, do they?
I think there's a new album out. I didn't really do much research for this show, but I'm pretty sure. Didn't they just make the Devil's Dozen or something like that? Do you ever listen to that? On
I do
Sirius?
listen to the Devil's Dozen. I friggin' don't pay attention,
Yeah.
honestly.
Me either. Carcass, and I don't know if they had anything new out either, but Carcass is a band I've loved since this album that came out in I think the early '90s called Heartwork. Me and a buddy we covered the song Heartwork, and a couple others from that album. That was one of the albums that actually got me to buy a 7-string guitar back in the day, because they tuned down enough to make a 7-string viable, even though it was kind of before the 7-string revolution of Korn and Steve Vai and stuff like that of the later '90s. But I loved Heartwork. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. Definitely worth checking out if you like good guitar riffs. Guitar riffs are off the charts. And
Now,
Amon
are
Amarth
they-
was fucking amazing as they always are. Amon Amarth, always fantastic show. I've seen him going on about 6 times, and dude,
And listen, I don't care what you
Awesome.
say. I know we mentioned it on the last show. A Modern Moth's not Viking metal. I'm going to sit there and say they're freaking Viking metal.
They're melodic death metal that sings about Viking shit. And the only reason I argue with that is because there is a genre of Viking metal that has fucking like violins and shit in it. And
And that's okay. Like,
which
that's
I'm not
great.
saying that's bad either. I'm just saying that is
No.
not what a monomarth is.
I
Plus,
mean,
I think there's a video out there where the singer from a monomarth is like, "No, we are not the Vikings metal. We are death metal."
Viking ships and their live show.
I know. Like if they're not Viking metal, man, like that's
Yeah.
all they sing about, man.
I don't know what the heck the world's coming to, really. I
Right.
mean, they are Viking metal. They could say no all they want. You could say no all they want, but they are awesome. I
Yep.
have seen them live once. I absolutely love them.
Yep.
I want to go back to this Carcass talk though.
Yes.
I don't know much about them.
Oh. So I am mainly familiar with the early stuff. I think they retired for about 10 years and then reformed, excuse me. And but I haven't followed their like super new shit. So this was kind of like a reintroduction for me into some of these, into like Obituary that I wasn't a huge fan of, but now I'm gonna like go back and check out all their shit again. And Carcass, I've got to see what has happened in their later recordings, if they've done anything recently. I just don't know. But if you're gonna do anything, I say check out Heartwork and pay close attention to the guitars, man. Like these are some of the greatest. Like the riffs on Heartwork are like, it doesn't sound exactly like Pantera or anything like that, but it's like super high quality riffing. Like solos aren't like super amazing, but the riffing, man, is so good.
All right.
From a guitar player's perspective, man, that is like a fantastic album.
Now, are they American or are they
They are from
overseas?
the UK, United Kingdom.
Okay. So let's see. World Demise from Obituary was one of my albums I listened to a lot as a young kid.
Yep.
And then I'm looking through their library. Holy shit. They had a lot of albums.
Yeah. Well, they have been around for a long ass time. You know
Yeah,
how
they have.
Obituary got back in the news a few years back because one of their members runs like a cat rescue, and is like he became kind of like a meme for like taking care of like little cats and kittens and shit. And
It's awesome.
yeah, it's like some big ass charity or something, or maybe it's like for what's the when I got my cats from no, I can't remember.
The
Saint,
what you call it?
The
Yeah, so
you know what I,
in
I
our
can't
show,
remember.
we're not prepared for nothing. So,
No.
we just like
Part
to.
of the charm of this is that we are flying off the cuff.
Absolutely. We don't know. We're kind of dumb when
We
it
don't
comes
know
to
shit. And I
talking.
didn't prepare for any of this.
Absolutely. But we'll wing it. We'll figure it out. Some kind of SPCA or something like that. Is that the one you're talking about?
I don't want to have to Google it live.
Hey, I just did that with Obituary.
Oh yeah.
So we're good.
Yep. For future, maybe I will have a note sheet in front of me to make it seem like I am well prepared and very well versed in the things I am talking about.
I think we actually know what we're doing at
Yep.
some point.
That's right. So, hey, I hope everybody likes our intro music, which we haven't actually heard yet because I plan on shoving it into the front of this podcast. Maybe
That
we'll like it
sucks,
too.
We're gonna love it. I know we're gonna love it, and I
Yep.
can't wait.
Me either.
And our outro music is actually gonna be
Gonna be
sweet.
great too. Yep.
But funny story. I was going back on that. Like, and actually, with the audience, this is gonna lead into something I would like to talk about.
Yeah.
Something, the type of music, or not even the type of music, but like if you're, thinking of your 40 years. There's certain bands that just hit you the right way. Whether you call them your favorite bands or whether you call them your top 5, top 10, whatever. I was in the garbage truck, and I was like listening. Testament came on. True American Hate. Me and you have that connection to True American Hate.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, that should be our intro.
Oh shit. It could be that. Let's see. I mean, well, So for those who are listening now who heard what the intro music was, so hopefully the intro music that we're going for is the one I'm going to fix and put up there. Is I did some
Absolutely.
covers of a couple songs, and the intro music you probably heard was Power Shifter, a cover of that, and that's done by one of our all time favorite bands, Fear Factory. Like I probably put them in my top five, perhaps.
Absolutely. And talking about Fear Factory, that was, I mean, our conversations throughout our 20 plus years knowing each other always comes back to how fucking awesome Fear Factory
Yeah,
is.
that was actually so the second big concert I ever went to was it was in like 1996, I think 96, 97 maybe, and this was in Tampa. This was
The Obsolete album.
well no this was during Demanufacture, and it was
Okay.
it was
Okay.
it was Fear Factory, Flotsam and Jetsam, which was Jason Newsted's old band,
Oh, yeah.
Korn and Megadeth. So Korn was on like Shoots and Ladders or whatever, like the really old Korn.
The
Where
original, just the self titled
yeah,
album.
where they brought out like the bagpipes on stage and did that shit. It like blew everybody's mind. Like nobody knew what the hell to expect with them. I think Megadeth was actually the headliner, but I had never heard of Fear Factory before, and it was on the Demanufacture tour, and I heard that shit and it blew my balls off. It was so good. Like I bought a T-shirt that night, and I got Demanufacture the next day, and I was like, "This is for me. This is it. This is my
You know,
shit right here."
it's so funny because we would have arguments of like the best Fear Factory album, and now we have more of a laundry list to
Yeah.
go through when it comes to Fear Factory.
Oh yeah.
But we would talk. I would say the Obsolete album was like I thought the best album, and you always did say Demanufactured.
Demanufacture. Yeah, and it could just be
So
what we each heard first. Like maybe that's
and
a
I think
yeah.
that's exactly it because I remember being stoned and reading the insert title for every song
Oh yeah.
and the Obsolete album, and then they would also write a story, a background story with every song, and it just melded so well.
Yep.
So after our little conversation of like which album's the best album, I think we both can now agree Mechanize really is the
I
king.
love Mechanize so much. Oh my god, I love Mechanize. When that shit happened, that also blew my balls off, and it was so good, and it was so exciting because they had Gene Hoglan in the band, and like
Hmm.
I saw like a little bit of a press release before I heard the album, and I was like, wait, Gene's in Fear Factory? What the shit is this? And then I waited a little, and then all of a sudden Power Shifter hit the radio, and like,
Yeah.
oh my god. I was like, dude, Fear Factory is on their A game. This is better than like anything I've heard since the Manufacture, which I would say like, I'd say Mechanize is better than the Manufacture, but the Manufacture has a place in my heart. It's like
Oh,
my first.
absolutely.
So I put them both as like their two best, and I'm hesitant to really rank one over the other, but Mechanize I think is a better album. And
So
everyone
good.
argues this kind of shit all the time because there's people out there that fucking hate Mechanize, and I think they're wrong, obviously. But
Do they really?
there are people out there that dislike it, and I don't see it, man. That album is great from start to finish, in my opinion.
They got to get their head checked.
Is great.
Because that's the thing, like, so with a band like a Fear Factory, everything I've listened to up until what album was that, probably, so see, here we go again, long pauses,
Yep.
but I will have it for you here in a second, but like it was after Mechanize, and
Uh,
then they did
was Genexus was two
yeah,
albums ago.
Genexus is the two
I
albums,
think that was
so it
2 albums
wasn't that
ago.
one.
I actually really like Genexus, man, and I know a lot of people didn't care for that one too much, but that one I really liked.
Yeah, I wasn't like
Huge fan.
super hardcore. Yeah, so we will call it Digimortal. I thought was good. Oh yeah, The Industrialist.
Okay, that was the first one. I think they used a drum machine on that.
They did,
Yep.
they did,
Little.
and I liked the first three songs.
Yep.
But going back to my point, every Fear Factory album besides that, every song was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love all their shit. Even the weird shit in the middle that didn't have Dino. Like what was that? That was oh now I can't I
Archetype.
can't even remember the names. Was that Archetype?
Yeah, yeah.
I even like some of that shit, man, too. Like even though
It was a
like
good album.
Christian old Wolbers like went from bass to guitar, and
And
everybody was like suing everybody.
yeah, exactly. That was when that happened.
Yep.
But on that album, they did a cover of a song.
Was that the Cars or was that
No,
which one was it?
that was Nirvana.
They did a Nirvana cover on there. Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
move your beard out of the way. It looks good. I have beard envy. Did I have my beard during the last time we recorded?
You did not. You did not.
I had just gotten rid of it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So before then, I had a beard that was longer than Jason's over his majestic beard over there. You
Yeah.
big red bastard! Look at you, you fucking
Just the
majestic. You look
fire.
so good.
Yeah, that was
Yep.
so with that, like so Fear Factory was the first band I heard ever actually do a cover of a metal cover of Nirvana, and then OTEP ended up
Oh,
doing
did
one.
they?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was wild. The metal versions of the songs are awesome.
All right. So I'll tell you what. Sometime within the next week or two, I'll go give you a nice metal cover of a Nirvana song and see what I can come up with, and
Okay.
see if I could throw some shit together. I'll pick one of my favorite Nirvana songs because I didn't have a lot of them. I was not the biggest Nirvana fan, but I did learn. I learned just about everything on Nevermind to pick up girls back when I was in high school, and our good friend Todd actually kind of got me into Nirvana back then. He was very into
Oh,
he was very into like alternative rock music. So he really liked King Missile and
King Missile.
yeah, man.
God, that was so
Yeah,
bad.
King Missile. He like all right, so he actually got me into Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Red Hot Chili Peppers that I still like to this day.
Great album.
I think that album is fantastic, start to finish. That's
Absolutely.
a great like all the songs are funky as hell, man. They're
Mhm,
really good.
mhm.
It's like not too many stupid fucking filler songs or anything. They were all
No,
really
no,
strong.
not at all. Yep.
But yeah, our good buddy Todd got me into a lot of weird music. They Might Be Giants. I know I listened to because of him, essentially. And he was very like anti-metal, and I was like very metal back
Very
then.
metal.
Yeah,
It's so funny.
he was my
bringing it back
exposure to alt rock, really. That like all the
bringing it
weird
back to
bands.
Fear Factory.
Mhm.
I convinced him to go to the show with me when we met you again.
Oh, that was another great story when we hooked up at the Fear Factory show by accident on the Mechanized tour, which was so awesome.
So
And
good.
yeah. So like Jason and I had not seen each other in years, at least a couple years, right? It'd been
I think it had been 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
And we were just out at the same show and ran into each other kind of by accident, and it was awesome. And that's how we kind of hooked back up and stayed in touch after then. And then before everybody kind of moved around the states for our international,
States,
yeah. I'm just calling them that because of our faithful international viewers and listeners. Shouts out to international fans out
we
there.
still appreciate you.
We love you guys out there. Thank you.
Chicago to Washington to
Yep.
maybe even across the pond.
That's right. Across the pond.
And let me tell you, at some point, we will have a studio, and our audio or video won't be so bad, and my hat will actually look like a damn hat, and
Yep. Yeah, I gotta go and score a hat too, especially if that logo is gonna hold true.
actually the new one
Oh yeah, the new one has
showcases
it's
a baseball cap.
yeah, it's been modified.
Yep.
I like it.
So you don't have to go that route if you don't want.
I want to though. I love Captain.
It's a good.
I happen to not have one right now. I have this one. Wait.
So
so
honestly,
you guys can see it.
my obsession with cowboy hats comes from honestly, it comes from Dimebag.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It
Cowboys from Hell, baby.
to see a metalhead just rocking it like
Oh, yeah.
it should be. So ever since then, baseball caps were when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Now I rock with the metalheads.
Yep.
Rest in peace,
Rest in peace, Dimebag. So here's the thought: did you like? So I really like the album Rebel Meets Rebel. When Pantera hooked up with David Allan Coe, and
David Allan
I
Coe.
really enjoyed that album, man. And it was a little twangy and a little weird, but I really enjoyed it, and it kind of came out of nowhere.
It did not come out of nowhere, but
Oh yeah, well it did for me.
yeah,
It did for me. It came out of
it
nowhere.
was I was following, so I've been following everything. I followed so much from them one day when
Yep.
Pantera initially split, and Damage Plan was actually pretty awesome. And
Never really got into them.
then I knew they were doing Rebel Meets Rebel, and yeah, that album,
I really liked
not
it.
necessarily my cup of tea,
Yeah.
but I gave it the biggest chance because it was Dimebag and Vinny,
Yeah.
and David Allan Coe, his voice did work with most of the music.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
He's got like a deep baritone. It sounds really good. Yep.
No, it was
It's
definitely
worth checking out if you're a big Pantera fan and you want to listen to something really fucking weird. This is
is
this is for
weird.
you.
Yeah.
This is definitely for you if you need to scratch your Pantera itch, because it's definitely Pantera. Like, it sounds like Pantera just got a big injection of David Allan Coe rebel country music.
About country. Yep, exactly. That's the best way to put it.
Yep.
And let me tell you. So yeah, I was gonna ask, like, great question to ask our international audience.
Yes.
What did you think of Damage Plan after Pantera? Because if you're listening to us, you're probably a fan of Pantera at some point.
Yep. We'll make
And
sure
if
to
you
tag
followed,
this podcast with Pantera.
and if you followed, any of what Dimebag did, what do you guys think of Damage Plan? I mean, no one, in my opinion, could replace Phil, but I don't think Damage Plan was trying to.
Yeah, so the little bits that I heard, I was very like, I don't want to say I was like anti-Damage Plan or anything like that. It's just like during the time of Damage Plan, I worked like 24 hours a day and just didn't like have too much time to get a bunch of new metal into my life, and so I just didn't. And I don't think I gave him a fair shot. I'm gonna go check him out again and see what I think. I'll give myself some homework.
There you go.
Yep.
And then so I also, I guess going in with that, like, if you had to go like a top five
Ooh.
throughout your life, could you name a top five?
Top five, man, that's really hard. So I do have a number one band for me that will always kind of be that, and that is Metallica for me. And
Yes.
like I was so into Metallica, I learned everything on guitar up through live shit, binge and purge, and even some shit off Load and Reload. When I was really, really heavy into guitar playing and everything, like Metallica was like my gold standard for music essentially, and then add in Megadeth and Slayer, and that's like my whole reason for playing guitar. And Metallica, especially the old stuff, like every song on every album, I know probably every lyric to every song, and I can play almost all of them on guitar, solos included. I learned all of Kirk Hammett's fucking nasty wah shit, and
Oh, good.
and I love Metallica so much, man. So and when you make like a list like that, and we talked about this a little bit, if we're gonna pick like every band of every genre, like that's really hard for music fans to do, and like because I mean, like my top is like, well, who do I pick? Do I pick like Metallica, Pantera, Megadeth, Slayer, like all the classic metal bands that I grew up with, like. But I liked all kinds of shit, so it's.
Well, so I'll give you an example of five that I got.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
and it will be like, because it doesn't necessarily need to be in a genre, because you could definitely do genre top fives for sure.
Yep.
But like, I would go Pantera,
Yeah,
Fear Factory,
and Fear Factory.
Metallica, System of a Down, and then I would have to go Nirvana. Now, what the
One of these
debate
things
could
is
be,
not like the other.
I know exactly.
Yeah.
what I could debate is I could debate taking System out for like a testament,
Hmm.
but since I'm not doing a genre based,
Right.
those five bands have been through with me through almost my whole life.
Hmm.
And so those I have to be like that's my ultimate top five.
Yeah.
Now I can sit there and tell you I like Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Secret to the fans,
That-
Lady Gaga is amazing.
we won't let our fans find out that you just said that
Exactly. Like
to our international audience.
we can edit that.
Edit that out. I'll bleep it.
But like you could
Yep.
easily go stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like I mean even going like something as like heartfelt as like 80s music where I would put like probably Foreigner or Journey somewhere in
Oh
there
yeah.
because they
I
were
love
so
that shit.
good.
Yeah. Like
Um
good songwriting, good musicianship, like that kind of transcends genre, like
yeah,
you can always tell when someone put their soul into their music, and you can feel it,
absolutely.
man. And a lot of those I've got Journey about. Like I love Journey, man. Like
I even
I,
like the new Journey.
oh, with the new, well, I
Yeah,
get new singer, he's only been in the band 20 years now, but
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
But oh yeah, I mean it's so good, and like a lot of a lot of the classic stuff. Like another thing, like because I was always like a metal guitar player, and there's kind of like, and I grew up at a time when metalheads were all assholes, so it was like kind of so a lot of us really disliked a lot of classic rock
Mm.
while acknowledging that everything came from there. Like for example, I'm not like the biggest Black Sabbath fan, and I'm not the biggest Led Zeppelin fan. But I acknowledge that everything spawned from a lot of that stuff, especially
Wow.
Sabbath, and
Definitely
but
Sabbath.
while I acknowledge and respect it, and I learned a bunch of it, like it just doesn't make my CD player. It doesn't. It's not something I go out of my way to listen to. And like
Okay.
Jimi Hendrix, like I'm not a big fan of Jimmy, and
Oh my God, Jimmy was
yeah,
amazing.
and see, like I'm like also a very mathematical regimented guitar player, like which is kind
He
of the
didn't make sense to you.
which is kind of the opposite of what a lot of those guys that were like more self-taught, that the like, and I have no soul with my music. I completely acknowledge that everything
Oh,
I play, I'm very like very genty, very mathy. Like that's what I like. Like I really liked Mudvayne, and I like I like my music to look like squares on a screen, not like I don't want anything like fluid and that has feelings.
oh.
And
So that explains why you
right,
don't like a Nirvana
so
or a
that's a
yeah.
lot of it, and because I like my stuff's very percussive, that I enjoy essentially listening to that kind of stuff. So this is probably where, and it's not that I don't like a lot of that other stuff, but like you wait and listen to me if I do a cover of a Nirvana song, and it'll probably half sound like a Fear Factory song. So so
No.
right, so you'll see, it'll be something you won't like, I promise, but
Hell,
it'll
I
be
could
fun.
teach you how to do that.
I mean,
But
I
so,
can play Nirvana stuff like that. I mean, it's not that it was like hard to play. It was just that like
no.
the feeling stuff. I like that unquantifiable magic is something that just does not exist in my fingertips. Like
Well,
I like our, so for example, in all the bands that I played in back in the day, it's like, hey man, come over, we'll jam. I'm like, I don't jam. Like you tell me the songs you want me to learn, I will learn them ahead of time, and we will play them together.
wow. Wow.
Which is
So,
crazy because I learned a bunch of theory and stuff, and like I can get around and I can whip up a guitar solo and stuff like that. But I just don't like, I don't really enjoy jamming. I enjoy like performing, and I like, but the actual like side of it where I'm like improving or something like that, like that's just not me. And
well,
where like so this is what pissed me off about Kirk Hammett all the time as a big fan of Metallica, because you play it, he would change the solos every time he'd play them,
yes,
and
yes.
that shit would drive me crazy.
So,
I'm
all
like,
right,
play it like you wrote it, you asshole. Play it like you wrote it.
challenge accepted
Yep.
to the international audience and for me.
Yep.
We gotta get you some fucking soul.
I know. soulless. I'm completely soulless.
And they say redheads are the ones without souls.
Well, I mean, that's also true.
I mean, close, but
Yep.
I mean, I have so much feeling when it comes to my music, and I guess that was going to be what I asked you about. If you're claiming you have no soul in music,
Right.
which would explain some of the bands that you just named that you dislike. And I pray that you're actually on the same side with me. What about the Beatles?
So here's my take, and I'll make sure I clarify this with everybody. I respect any band that can write any pop song or any song in general that gets stuck in my head. All right?
Okay.
Writing a strong hook is like a gift from God. Like, it's really, really awesome when that happens. And the Beatles were very, very good at that stuff, especially Hard Day's Night in the beginning and stuff like that. Now, do the Beatles like satisfy my taste for music and aggression and things like that? Obviously not. But but the Beatles, like, I have to give credit where credit is due. And plus I give credit to Hendrix and all the other classic classic rock bands and things like that. I think I feel the same way about the Beatles. Like, they don't quite make my CD player, but they essentially were like rock and roll pioneers. Like, you have to you have to give respect, but it just doesn't make my CD player. Like, but now, do I know a tons of Beatles stuff? Can I sing along to all of it? Can I get into it? Like, yeah, I totally can. Like, even more than like, so like, there was stuff I just didn't really care for, like Hendrix, man. Like, Hendrix is like so hotly debated amongst people that are really into like guitar playing and stuff like that. Because everyone who, like, I hear this all the time. Like, every countdown is like, Jimi Hendrix is the greatest guitar player that ever lived. It's like, no, he's not, man. He's really not. He's not.
He absolutely is.
He's not the greatest that's ever lived. No, he's not.
He did it all by himself and left-handed.
Yo, left-handed. Woo.
Hey, lefties. It's hard. It's not easy.
Are you a lefty?
I play guitar right-handed because I can't do it left-handed. And I don't play guitar by any means. Just so you know, like, I used to play when I was a teenager, and I know Nirvana songs because they're so super easy. But
well, my take on Hendrix is always like, sure, he's okay, but he is, in my opinion, like one of the most overrated guitar players. And
oh my god,
that's a hill I'm going on to.
Oh my god, we might not be friends after this whole ordeal is over. So my quick take on the Beatles.
I'm that asshole, man. I'll take, like, and I don't think he wrote that good. Like, a lot of his stuff were cover songs that got really popular. Like All Along the Watchtower. That was, I didn't Eric Clapton write that. Like,
no, I don't think it was Clapton. I think it was somebody else. Like, yeah,
a lot of his stuff was covers. Like, I don't see a lot of like good songwriting talent like the Beatles had with Hendrix. And I don't think he was as good of a guitar player as Clapton. He wasn't as good of a guitar player as Page, in my opinion.
You are fucking insane.
I'll be the guy. You know what? I will put this in the title of the podcast so we can get some clickbait off of it. So a whole bunch of people can scream at me in the comments section.
And I hope they do. I mean, they need to. Because first off, like, and this is going to be my battle, my hill. I freaking hate the Beatles.
Okay, yeah.
I think they're overrated for the age, for our age group.
Yep. Well, I think Sgt. Pepper's is a giant fucking shit show. I do say that, and that movie was fucking god awful, by the way. And sorry for blaspheming, but
no,
that movie is one of the most hilariously bad movies ever. Like, short of like The Room or the Star Wars Holiday Special. Like, go if you want to see like one of the most laughably bad movies. Go watch the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band movie. That movie's so bad. Are you familiar with this movie? We should talk about it.
Absolutely not, because I am so little of a fan of the Beatles.
Please, my friend, let me take you on a journey. All right, we might have to drop some acid before this, but all right. So this movie, I believe it was made in like 70, sometime in 70, 75, 76. So it was so bad they had to scrap all the dialogue, and they essentially there's no talking in this movie. They got George Burns, if you know him.
Oh yeah, I know him. Yep.
Cigar smoking old guy who's awesome.
Fantastic. Yep.
Huge. So he narrates this whole movie. All right, here's who's in this movie. All right, our heroes are Peter Frampton and the Bee Gees. All right.
Okay.
Playing the 4 Sergeant Pepper's superheroes who nebulously go around doing some sort of weird superhero shit with their musical instruments in a almost nonsensical, like nonsensical following of the Sergeant Pepper's album, and do a lot of cocaine, and eventually battle at the end with Aerosmith.
I'm already asleep.
This movie is freaking bananas, dude. It's absolutely like how this movie got made. It baffles me. It baffles me.
So yeah, on
it's
that
absolutely
note,
insane. It's absolutely insane. Like how Kiss made what the hell was that Kiss movie that was so crazy? I can't remember now.
I don't know.
You know, I wasn't the biggest Kiss fan either. I was like, you know, I liked a few of their songs, but like, it wasn't really. They didn't really do it to me because my upbringing was in, and we talked about gatekeeping. Like I was in like the gatekeeping metal club, like where if you liked pussy music, man, you were out. So like I grew up and like it was like the harder and faster, essentially the better in most cases. So I really during my formative years. So like when I first started playing guitar, like you really pick up an ear for what you like and stuff like that. So if you're heavily influenced by things like, you know, modern at the time metal music versus classic rock music of previous generations and stuff like that, you just get disconnected from it, and it just doesn't have like a real super appeal unless you seek it out. And that's kind of what happened to me. So while I learned a bunch of Led Zeppelin eventually, I didn't start with it. I didn't really like care for it all that much. It was okay, but like it just didn't like it didn't scratch my itch, man. And whereas like more things did. So like AC/DC I liked a lot more. I liked the Who I liked. I'm trying to think. Led Zeppelin, man. That was like Pink Floyd. I will acknowledge that
it's not even metal.
Yeah, well, they classic rock, man. It's got electric guitars and shit. Well, all right, well, so I'll tell you this as a guitar player. I can sense soul when I hear it, even though I cannot reproduce it super well when asked, or unless there's like a gun to my head. David Gilmour playing in Comfortably Numb, that is one of the greatest guitar solos, in my opinion. That is not fast. That is the greatest, like, slow, emotional guitar solo I think I've ever heard. That I will throw that.
No, see, I'd put Clapton way over that.
A specific Clapton song or
No. Well, you gotta go like,
Clapton was always really like he was really jazzy to me, like the
he
Crossroads
was.
and like
it was so good.
Like
it was so good.
Like Cream and Clapton, like, and I ended up playing some more of Clapton stuff. Because my guitar teacher, I took guitar lessons for years. And I actually spent a lot of time doing like nylon string classical stuff too. For years, actually, I did a lot of that. But my guitar teacher was heavily influenced by Clapton, and so a lot of that he kind of passed down to me. Now, is Clapton going to be in my CD player? All right. Here is something that may make or break our friendship. No, nothing will. But do you like electric Layla or acoustic Layla?
Acoustic.
Damn you, we're not friends anymore.
No, well, see, you gotta go. That's where the soul comes out of it, though. Like the electric version is not bad, but when you hear him like pour out his heart, that's what speaks to me.
Oh, that whole man, because that happened right after his kid died, where he went on because you got Tears in Heaven, that which is the the most tragic story. I'm glad that happened a long time ago, and everyone's joking about it now. So that's good,
Right.
because when
Yeah,
that
'cause,
happened, that was absolute tragedy for those of you
absolutely.
out there in our both local and international audience. Eric Clapton's son actually fell out of a window and died, and he was like a 3-year-old. Like, it's a real tragic thing that
It's a
happened.
horrible
And
story.
yeah, so that song "Tears in Heaven" that got really super popular when Eric Clapton did this acoustical tour, was about that. And like, there's like not a dry eye in the house, man, when that song comes
No,
on. Like,
no.
oh my god, it's so like,
Almost still to even this date,
oh
like it holds up.
yeah. And this is another thing that you and I touched on a little bit when we were talking about this, is like what makes music kind of transcend like time and kind of like,
Yes. Yeah.
become like kind of genre independent. Like, what makes things rise above just like, you know, basic stuff and go into like the annals of history. Like like because there are, I'm saying like too much, songs out there that are so timeless. Like, everyone knows Bohemian Rhapsody, right?
Absolutely. Nobody doesn't know that
Yeah,
song.
there are songs and
Even
things
I
that
think my 10-year
transcend.
old knows that.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, or like good anthem songs. Like obviously, "We Will Rock You" from. I mean, Queen
Queen
is in
was
a
very
whole.
good.
Yeah,
I was a huge
they
fan of
are.
Queen.
They are at a whole different level of like greatness.
There is I thought when we were talking about ranking of songs and bands, of how I would be able to actually figure it out. And so, like I said, I'm very mathy. So I was thinking of categories like, well, musicianship and things like that make me interested in
Well, you
liking a
have
band.
no
And
soul, so you're already going
well,
to be eliminated to half of it.
well, there is a thing that I think I can see and respect, and that is songwriting. The ability to write good songs, and that is where Queen
Absolutely.
is at the top, man. Queen is so
Yeah,
good with that. The ability
I
to
don't think there's
write
any
good
better.
songs, man. They could be, I mean,
They're
and they like
timeless.
transform themselves. Like, their songs aren't even the same sounding. They're
No,
they're all very
no.
different. Queen is
God,
very, very good, very good. I have to say that for, bands that aren't like, you know super heavy metal bands like Queen.
see, now we're back on the same
Queen
track.
Queen transcends, man. There are bands out there that transcend, and that's
Yep.
for sure. I
So
would I
like
would put Queen up there for that. Yeah.
I was thinking of like anthem type music too. Like I for some reason this just popped in my head.
AC/DC, Queen.
Yeah, AC/DC does it a lot, but like
Hmm.
think in the '80s, and this is a different genre of metal,
Hmm.
but Quiet Riot, "Come On Feel the
Oh
Noise,"
yeah.
like that to me is a hell of a good anthem.
What's his
Like
name?
just a,
Kevin Dubrow, man. I love his vocals too,
and they're not great.
but I still love him. I love him. Quiet Riot, because that's where what do you call it? That's Randy Rhoads' band that he left to go join Ozzy, and
Yes.
yeah, Quiet Riot had some great songs for sure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
liked I liked a lot of those kind of weird hair metal band. Like, I really like Twisted Sister, and they have this one album called Stay Hungry, where every song I actually like on it, and it's actually better than their greatest hits album. But I liked a lot of that stuff, and so this is where I think my main criteria, if I have to pick a band that of any genre that ends up being in my like top 5, it has to go back to songwriting. The ability to write good songs is like, I think that's the most important thing. Just about everything else is secondary to that. You have to be able to write good songs.
That in part also means they have soul. My
Is it?
friend, I'm just saying, like that's my feel because like when you just mentioned that
Hmm.
Queen obviously is up there.
Yeah.
Metallica,
Yep.
they write with, I mean, they speak
They
from the
had really
soul.
good songwriting,
Yeah,
especially in the
absolutely.
early days. Yeah.
Like I mean, you just go by their what made them super popular before the Black Album.
Hmm. Oh
One
yeah.
was like such a major hit for so many people, and it was a trigger also, but it
Oh
it
yeah.
it, it made you feel,
Yep. Yeah. It was.
and
So good.
And I think
That song
that's
is, oh my god, so good.
and like going back to Todd,
Mhm.
like I know System of a Down did that for him because he's not much of a
No,
metalhead
no.
person, and
Yep. We'll
I
have to
don't.
invite him on the show.
We will.
So
I
our
think
local and international fans can see who
can meet.
we are talking about.
Yep, have a picture, a face with the name,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, and in later episodes,
Hmm.
he will be. We will have him on anyway for
Game
talking about a
discussion.
game that he made.
That's right. He has been published, and we assisted
Uh,
him with lots of it. So,
We're actually in it, so we're
oh yeah,
stars.
I
We're
know.
already international stars.
That's right.
But yeah. So it's real. I get it. It's tough,
Hmm.
but like if you really just sit back and if you want to categorize.
Yep.
But if you could just think off the top of your head,
Hmm.
what five bands you would listen to throughout the rest of your time. That's how
Yep.
I picked my five because those five that I said, I know I will never get sick of hearing them.
So if I had to pick five now that we've discussed criteria and things like that, so Metallica would be on my list, and I think Fear Factory would be on my list. One of the other bands that I can do that with is Guns N' Roses. I can listen to every one of their songs, and not only does it like do I respect like the songwriting and everything musically that they did, but it also kind of takes me back to an era of my life. There's like stop saying that.
Like,
The like I like them so hard. I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna get something. I'm gonna clamp something to my testicles, or every time I say like, it's gonna shock me.
we
So,
will try to get better at this radio
oh, I know.
thing, maybe.
Ugh. Guns N' Roses. I think Queen could be on that list. Um, I'm up to four now, right?
Yep.
Like, do I dare put Megadeth on the list? I'm not
I
sure.
think you put Testament over Megadeth.
Well, a lo- there's a couple of these bands to me fell off a lot, and because Metallica kind of fell off for me too after Live Shit, Binge, and Purge. They didn't have the same magic, but Megadeth, I haven't really listened to much Megadeth in a long time, like since Marty
But they're not
Friedman
on the
left.
list.
So I
There
don't
you
think I
go.
can put them on the list.
Nope.
If half of their career was making music that I didn't really get into, then it's hard, you know. So
Oh God! Speaking of soul, see my number four,
yep,
System of a Down. I told you it could be adjusted.
sure.
Avenged Sevenfold.
Avenged Sevenfold. All right, two albums in the middle are two of my all-time favorite bands. That was City of Evil and then Avenged
Yep.
Sevenfold, Avenged Sevenfold. Those
Yep.
two albums to me, and they're kind of guilty pleasuring because of kind of hard-ass metal guys get a lot of shit for liking Avenged Sevenfold. I think that band is so talented.
So
And it's
talented.
so like the vocal harmonies, the
Yes.
songwriting is so good. The guitar playing and drumming were so good.
It's almost unfair
Like
how
they were
good they
so
are.
good, and they took a lot of
Yeah.
shit because they were a little bit poppy, And
Yep.
and they all were like good looking kids, so everybody kind of made fun of them and shit.
Even a little twangy, if you will, because they had a couple
Sure.
songs on the City of Angel
Yeah,
that was just
they sure did.
amazingly well done.
Yeah,
You can't hate it.
I loved those two albums in particular. The one they did with Mike Portnoy, I really liked. And
Yes.
Avenged Sevenfold is actually one of the bands that I've seen more than almost any others, and I saw them during every era of their. I saw them during, except the very old stuff, like the Waking the Fallen or whatever. I
Yeah.
came in for City of Evil, and I saw them with the Rev, the drummer, and then I saw them again with the Rev, and then I saw them with Mike Portnoy drumming, and then I saw them. I didn't see them with Aaron Alge, who was I think nobody liked him. I think he was kind of an asshole. I'm not sure though. And then Brooks Wackerman, I saw them because I saw them open for Metallica.
Me too.
Oh, did you see that tour too? Or
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it was a great tour. Them
It was a fantastic tour.
it was like Volbeat, Avenged Sevenfold, and Metallica.
So
And
that was that tour for you. For
Yeah.
me, it was Gojira, Avenged Sevenfold, and Metallica.
Okay, yeah. I've seen
Yeah.
Gojira before. So Brooks Wackerman, you like go Google this guy if you've never Googled him and look at his like musical pedigree, like what he has done at from such a young age. That dude is another musical genius, and I really. So this is another thing I would like to talk about, and this might be worthy of its own podcast. And this is my A-Team theory of good music. All right.
Okay.
So I know you're familiar with the A-Team, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So one of the things that the A-Team has that bands kind of need is Murdoch, who, if you've ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they had this episode where Charlie was like, "I'm the wild card," and he'd do something like ridiculous and like jump out of a car or whatever, and he's like wild card. And well, bands need a guy that's crazy in their band, and I can make a case for this.
Oh, you're gonna have
All
to.
right? And so here I'll give you a couple examples. All right, Guns N' Roses had Axl, and Axl is absolutely fucking crazy. He's absolutely crazy. All right?
He is.
And the proof I will submit to you for this is that I think that Chinese Democracy is better than anything that Velvet Revolver ever did. And
You're fucking insane.
And I will stand by this, and I can give you like a song by song breakdown of why I think the songwriting on there is better. Because I thought that Velvet Revolver, I thought they were like kind of lame, and I thought a lot of their songs all sounded the same, and it's because they lacked a good wild card like songwriter, like one of these guys that can like play piano and is absolutely crazy and is probably addicted.
Wait a second, but they had the dude that
Not
from
crazy
Stone Temple Pilots.
Not crazy enough. He's not crazy.
He's crazy.
Not crazy enough. You got to be musical crazy. You need music crazy. So, for example, like Queen, Freddie Mercury, absolutely like musically crazy. Musically crazy. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Avenged Sevenfold had their drummer who was musically crazy, which is why those two albums are better than, in my opinion, and there are certain hills I will, I might stand on for that. City of Evil and Avenged Sevenfold were like number one albums in in history, and then stuff after that was good. It was good, but
Nightmare was fantastic.
I didn't think Nightmare was as good as those two, though.
Oh,
and I'm not saying
my
Nightmare was
God.
bad. It's not bad. They're a great band, but those two albums had magic to them. There was like special magic going on in those two albums because they had a crazy guy in their band. That's my.
You gotta okay. Let's we're gonna put a sock in that one because let
me do an episode on it. Give me a chance to make more of a case of like of why bands need a musical crazy guy if they're going to really stand out like that.
I think that's fantastic because you might have some merit to your argument,
and there's probably other counter arguments to it, but I think there's enough of it that it's worth noticing.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to note this one down because, just for to go with you, Jim Morrison was crazy.
Yeah,
he was batshit crazy.
Yeah,
and the Doors are pretty freaking good.
Oh yeah.
So
you need like one guy that is like look at the Beach Boys, right? They had like Brian Wilson who was nuts, right?
Yep. And they were great.
And the Beatles, right? I know you don't care for them too much, but like John Lennon, he's a whack job. He's crazy.
He married a whack job. He wasn't.
Sure,
I don't think he was necessarily the whack job. I think he married into a whack job, which turned him.
Maybe fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the greatest example of this, but however, that was.
I think I love that type of episode.
And this is all right. So let me throw something else out. All right, old Metallica. All right, you're
gonna say.
I was gonna say Cliff.
I
was gonna say Cliff because he's and usually what these whack jobs kind of have in common is they're really good musically. Like they have most of them also are piano players and can compose things and stuff like that. Like look at Orion, right? That stuff was all written by Cliff, and that's very like musically like do 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 do. It's very like layered and has stuff like that. That's part of his. He was more of a musical sort of crazy guy, definitely crazy. And then he dies.
Yep.
Then everybody in the band goes crazy. So I think And Justice for All doesn't necessarily go by, or doesn't necessarily like prove or disprove my point. I think the craziness came because they all were so, crazy because Cliff died, which also maybe is why And Justice for All so good. And then the Black Album comes out. The crazy
It
is
was the number one album.
the crazy's winding down there, but they still have some. And then after that, then they did live stuff, which doesn't really count because they're not writing. But then it's all like very like stagnant and very like kind of stale and corporate because they don't have have like a crazy factor anymore. I think the
no,
crazy,
see, they were still crazy. They were crazy. They were crazy.
Because I don't think Load and Reload really had like the X factor, like the crazy
No,
factor to it.
they did that. Those two albums, they did that because of people like you. Because of the
Good.
Black Album, they were like,
Well,
who
I
would
love the Black
criticize?
Album, so.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Maybe
you're not the
people
great
exactly
example.
like me, but well, all right. So
Exactly.
was I pissed off that they cut their hair? Like, see, I was one of those metal assholes. So I was like, yeah, fuck them, man. They cut their hair, a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm gonna go see them on like the Load tour. So I did. And like I waited overnight to get tickets, and I had a great time, and I love Metallica. So, and then they sued me, so no problem.
Did they? Oh yeah, they did. They sued me
Napster,
too.
baby.
Yeah. Yep, Napster.
So.
Because dude, Lane Staley, crazy, and
crazy.
Alice in Chains is super good.
Yeah.
And they're not. So I saw them with Guns N' Roses, just before the
Never saw Guns N'
Metallica
Roses
tour.
live. Oh, I wish.
Guns
I
N'
did.
Roses was so good. Even now, they were like, I think that they're fantastic. And like Alice in Chains, as much as I wanted to relive how good they were, it was hard. It was hard without Lane.
Yeah, it's just there's that X factor that some of these crazy guys have, and I'm just saying the word crazy, like I don't know, like how.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get
I
you.
mean, like a wild card sort of guy, like
Yeah,
a guy
card.
that comes out of left field and is like, no man, we're gonna do something crazy. Are you guys ready for the operatic section or whatever? Like Freddie Mercury, you need a crazy guy. Like look at Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 by Guns N' Roses. It takes a crazy person to write those two albums, man. An absolute crazy person. And,
those were like masterpieces.
and to me, those albums were masterpieces. Absolute, like oh, go ahead.
Well, it just made me think. Do you really think Rev was the crazy one in Avenge?
Well, based on what I watched, yeah, and it's because and the examples. What's the necrophilia song?
I could look it up right now because I have so much. My library.
A little piece of heaven. A little piece of heaven.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
So good.
That song, objectively written by a crazy person. It's practically a Danny Elfman show tune, right? It's like it sounds like it could have been written by Danny Elfman, who by the way is one of my favorite composers of all time. Danny Elfman is a genius.
Okay.
But that song was written by the drummer, by the Rev. And that's like it was his baby. And it's crazy, but that song is genius in my opinion.
It's so
good.
So good.
When I first heard it, I was like, is this a show tune? Like, what is this? Is this like Phantom of the Opera?
Yes, it was so wild.
And then, like, I listened a couple times. I was like, this song is amazing. And then I looked up the lyrics, and I was like, oh my god, this song's really amazing.
Well, so that, damn it, I think you're right then. But
and it doesn't cover like everything, but it does. I think there's
maybe
plenty
we can make it cover
of
everything.
examples. There's tons of examples where you need a left field wild card sort of guy to make the music not just be like a cookie cutter kind of, like.
So, who was it in Fear Factory? Because it's not Dino.
Yeah,
it's not Dino. No.
All right, so Fear Factory, it kind of is Dino because we know he's crazy.
But like clinically.
Okay, so here's one of the things. Okay, I want to organize my thoughts on this because I'm sure I'll make some bold statements, which is what I've been doing this whole episode.
This whole freaking
episode, right? We're gonna have to cut this into like 10 parts, 10 dumb things that Mike said. So,
dumb things that Mike says.
All right, guitar player for 25, 30, probably getting close to 30 years now. Dino's playing is very, very unique. And it's now not so unique because I think his style was very like emulated. But when it kind of first started, so he's very compressed and he plays like a machine. And
He does.
and he really pioneered that style, like really more than anyone else did. And that's all Dino, like 100% him. And I can prove it. Like those two middle Fear Factory albums don't like quite have that, whereas all the ones that have Dino on like absolutely do. They sound very much like that machine gun where every single note is super compressed and is like sounds exactly like a robot printed it out on a grid, which is what I like a lot of that too, hence my Fear Factory influence. But that's very like Dino, and he's very, I think, controlling with his music like that, especially if you follow him like on social media. Like he's, you know,
Yeah, let's not go there.
you'll see he rubs people the wrong way all the time.
Yes, he
But
does.
he's very controlling with his vision of music, and you kind of need a guy like that. I think if anyone's could be considered the crazy guy in that band, I think it's Dino. Plus, he's like the only one left in the band now. But
He is.
but it's his like vision, and that's part of something a band needs is a person with the vision for what the band is actually going to do. So maybe like a strong leader, or maybe some like. Oftentimes they're very controlling and probably an asshole to work with, but you need someone with a vision in order to make
just
good music
Don't
come out.
go and sue the rest of your freaking
No.
band members.
Like,
Just throwing that out there.
the drama in that band, man. All right, so
It's sad.
So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna listen to what Divine Heresy or whatever. What was his other band with that really good drummer?
I actually did not listen to him.
So I think I've heard a couple of their songs, and I think I really like them, actually. I'm going to go back and check them out again, too. I know I've got a laundry list of homework now, but that's...
You should be writing this down.
I know, I should. Let's see.
Because on our next episode, we got to relive some of the stuff we've talked about.
All right, I tell you what. See, right now, what's going to be cool is I would be putting the outro music in right now because we just hit an hour. So... So right now... all of our both local and international fans, you are probably hearing our outro music. So,
well, then I guess what we got to do.
Thank you very much for listening, and like and subscribe and click that notification bell, and follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. And what does everybody say? Snapchat.
We're doing
Patreon, OnlyFans. Where are you going to be able to find us? Pornhub.
Twoshots.co.
Twoshots.co. Signing off. This has been produced by Mike and Jason of Two Shots, all that shit.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Holy shit, we went an hour.